Hi, this is Dr.Un, and we are going to do some lessons on factoring today. Today we're going to talk about factoring, and this is the first lesson, and we're going to talk about factor out the GCF, the common terms. So a little bit background of factoring. Hopefully you already know how to multiply by FOIL, like here, when you have 4x minus 1 times 3x plus 2. We do FOIL, and then we combine like terms like that. And we got the answer as 12x squared plus 5x minus 2. So factoring is reversing the process of multiplication. So they will give you the question as 12x squared plus 5x minus 2 and go through the process of factoring. Your answers will look like the factors for x minus 1 times 3x plus 2. So here are the steps for factoring for me. Your teacher may have a different type of steps, but these are the basic steps. First, you want to check and see if they have any common terms, and you want to factor out the GCF, meaning the greatest common factors. So if they have anything in common, you want to pull them out. And second, you want to decide if it's 2 terms, 3 terms, or 4 terms type of factoring. For 2 terms, we will show you later on, you can use special cases to factor it. For 3 terms, we will use AC method. And for 4 terms, we will factor by grouping them in pairs. After you decided, you go ahead and use certain way to factor it. And after you factor it 1 time, you want to double check and see if this can be factored again. So the first lesson is factoring the common term. So we look at number 1 and we want to see, okay, we have 2 terms here. What do they have in common? We see 12 and 8, and both of them can be divided by 2, but both of them can also be divided by 4. So 4 is actually the greatest common factor between the 2 numbers. So we're going to pull out 4. And both of them have a, and the highest power they have in common would be a to the 2nd power. And then we look at both of them, and not both of them have b, so b is not a common factor. So your greatest common factor for the first one is 4a squared. After we pull that out, we will see 12 divided by 4 is 3. And a to the 5th, if we pull out 2 of them, we still have 3 of them. And we will pull down the addition sign from the top. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. And we already pull out a squared, so we have b here. And again, the factoring is a reverse process of multiplication. So if we want to check our answer, we can multiply this out. 3a cubed times 4a squared will give you 12a to the 5th, and 2b times 4a squared should give you 8a squared b. So you can check that your answer is correct. So this is the first question. And then we can move on to the second example. The second example, we look at the 2 terms, and the number part, both of them can be divided by 5. So 5 is the greatest common factor for the number parts. Both of them have x, and the highest they have in common is x to the 3rd power, so we can pull out x cubed. And both of them have y, and the highest they have in common is y squared, so we can pull out y squared. And after we pull that out, we can see that we actually pull out the first term out here. So a lot of times students forget and just leave that blank, and it would be incorrect because we need to put a placeholder, a 1 here. After you pull this out, you can see this term, 5x cubed y squared times 1 will get you back to the first term. And then we pull down the subtraction sign here. And we can see 15 divided by 5 is 3. And we pull out 3 of the x from x to the 4th here. So we still have 1x. And we already pull out y squared. Again, you should be able to check your answer by multiplying this out and see if it's equal to your questions. So that's number 2. And then we are moving on to number 3. Number 3 is a little bit different because it started with a negative sign. So usually when we have a negative beginning, we will pull out a negative sign. So for sure, I know I'm going to pull out a negative. But when you pull out a negative, make sure you change all your term inside the parenthesis for that sign. So the first term become positive, the second term become negative, the last term become positive. So when you start with negative, you pull out the negative and change all the sign in the parenthesis. So looking at all 3 terms, all of them can be divided by 3. So we will pull out a 3 for the GCF for the number. And all of them have a, and the highest they have in common is a to the first power. So you pull out a, and we look at b, and not all 3 terms has b, so we cannot pull out a b. After that, okay, we pull out 3a, negative 3a for the first term, it becomes just ab. And for the second term, 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then we pull out an a, so we still have b. For the last term, 30 divided by 3 is 10. We already pull out an a, so that's all we have. Again, you can check your answer by multiplying this out. And if you get back to the question, it means you get it correctly. So that's number 3. Okay, so we are still doing factoring of the common terms. If you look at number 4, you should be able to see there are only 2 terms. The first term is 5x times y plus 2, and the second term is minus 3 times y plus 2. If you're looking at these 2 terms, the thing that they have in common is going to be y plus 2. So because this is the greatest common factor, we're going to pull it out to the front. And after we factor that, if you look at the first term, all you have left is 5x. Again, we're going to bring down the sign, minus, and then the second term, you will have 3 left. So that would be your answer. Again, if you want to check your answer, 5x times your GCF would be your first term, and negative 3 times your GCF would be the second term. So that's number 4. And when we look at number 5, again, it comes with 2 terms, and what they have in common is going to be b plus 7. So b plus 7 is the GCF, and we can put that in front of everybody. And after you pull out the GCF for the first term, you still have 2a. And when you bring down the sign, you will see, okay, there seems to be nothing left for the second term, but actually there's an invisible 1 there. So you should put a 1 there to hold the place. Because if you don't, you only have 2a times the GCF and you only have the first term. And we're supposed to be able to check our answer. So if you put a negative 1 at the second term, negative 1 times the GCF would be your second term for the question. So you can check your answer, and that would be your answer for number 5.